You make me miss being a professor at Penn. When I left the Vice Presidency, I had a chance to do a number of things, but I took a professorship at the University of Pennsylvania on presidential politics and history. So I envy you.
Well, isn't it exciting to be part of this sweep?
Oh, no, it is.
history?
It is. But it's also, I really enjoyed teaching and writing.
Well, to be very clear, and I think you all heard the president convey this in his speech the other night, the reason why we are seeing volatility in the global oil markets, the reason why the price of gas is going up, is not because of steps the president has taken. They are because President Putin is invading Ukraine, and that is creating a great deal of instability in the global marketplace. That what overall we need to do here is reduce our dependence on oil. Europeans are doing that, we're doing that, and I think what we're all going through now in this discussion of banning oil imports and the volatility in the global markets, oil markets, is a reminder of that.
The Vice President is going to be heading abroad. Can you tell us a little bit more about where she'll be going and what the goal of that trip will be?
Not yet, but certainly the Vice President has been deeply engaged. She's obviously already made a trip to Europe.
We are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I don't understand the point that you're making.
If you reduce supply in the global marketplace, you are going to raise gas prices. You're going to raise the price of oil, and that is something the president is very mindful of. And
can you describe the strength in the economy if there were a policy decision made to stop importing Russian oil? What impact would that have, and do you see a resilience in the American economy to withstand that?
So again, we're in a very good position. What we know is that from the U.S. economy, we don't import a lot of Russian oil, but we are looking at options that we can take right now if we were to cut the U.S. consumption of Russian energy. But what's really most important is that we maintain a steady supply of global energy.
Another reason why the American people are grateful, the majority of the American people, that President Biden has not taken a page out of his predecessor's playbook as it relates to global engagement and global leadership, because certainly we could be in a different place.
That the talks are close. One of the reported demands of the Iranians is that this administration reverse the policy of the last one and remove the IRGC from the list of foreign terrorist organizations. What's the U.S. position on that?
Look, we are close. We are making progress, but there's still more work to be done, and I'm just not going to negotiate from here.
So would the president then welcome Iranian oil coming into the United States in order to increase that supply?
Again, there's not a deal at this point in time. While we're close, we're not there. So if and when we get to that point, we can speak to that question.
Does the potential for an Iran deal factor into supply considerations at this point?
Go back to the implementation of the JCPOA would be the availability of oil, but I would say that our first and foremost priority focus is on preventing Iran from acquiring a nuclear.
Russia has cut off access to Facebook inside of Russia. How does that affect U.S. efforts? Does the White House have concerns about that source of information to Russian citizens being cut off?
Are concerning steps they have taken to crack down on any form of information being shared with our public. Certainly Facebook is a part of that.
There is a review of options that would allow you to cut consumption but maintain market stability and supply. Can you outline any of those options in detail that are under review right now?
Well, there are both international and domestic options. I'm not going to get into too much detail because speaking, part of what we're trying to do internationally is have conversations, as we have been for weeks now, with global suppliers about meeting the needs, the supply needs in the marketplace. The reduction of supply, the reduction of oil would raise prices, right? So that is one of...
This came from the Devon Energy CEO, big employer here in America, crude explorer. This is what they said to us this week. Secretary Walsh, quote, "I'm a little mystified that there hasn't been some dialogue. If they were to reach out, you, the administration, to them, and maybe be a little bit more collaborative, it might provide some cover from investors who might be disappointed they're boosting output." Have you reached out to any employers in the oil patch to boost production?
To this point, I'm not aware of any conversation, but I'm sure that there are conversations going on. Again, I have not been part of those, have not been party to those conversations.
So yesterday you said, less oil supply. You said it again today. It raises prices, and you said so I asked the American Petroleum Institute about those 9,000 leases that you've been talking about. The president and CEO of that group says that a lot of policies that have been put in place by this administration, including a ban on new development of federal lands and federal waters, is really hindering American energy development during a critical time. Also, he says the royalty fees increasing on drilling discourages investment. So are there any plans to reverse any of these policies to encourage investment?
I think he may have avoided your question. I mean, because the fact is that onshore alone, as of the start of this year, the industry had more than 9,000 unused approved permits to drill in the United States. I didn't hear him speak to that in particular. And of the more than 37 million acres under lease offshore and onshore to the oil and gas industry, nearly 60% are currently non-producing. Now, obviously, our view on drilling over the long term is different, I would suspect, than the person you spoke to, which is that what overall we need to do here is reduce our dependence on oil. Europeans are doing that, we're doing that, and I think what we're all going through now in this discussion of banning oil imports and the volatility in the global markets, oil markets, is a reminder of that. So, but there's no shortage of drilling leases that can be used domestically to enhance production in this moment. The oil and gas industry is literally sitting on stockpiled leases and permits.
And if you have any response to the Republicans.
Yeah, we absolutely do. I think it's important to remember what is happening here. The Republicans are not showing up to a committee vote. If one of them showed up, there'd be a quorum to have a vote, and there are enough votes to move her past the committee. That's what's happening. They're not doing their job here, which is just to show up. They don't have to vote for her. They just have to be in the room, which is essentially what people have elected them to do. So we stand by all of our nominees. We're
fairly substantial slide in the stock market this year. We've seen rising oil prices. Those are obviously pressures on the economy. Do you think that if those trends continue, that they will reverse the gains that you've seen?
So I think it's important to separate the stock market from the real economy.
Can it withstand the spikes we've seen in commodities, just the general environment, before the threat of tipping into a recession becomes real at this point?
So, look, the economy is very strong.
And the trend lines, which have been very, very positive. Why do you think this president is not getting credit from voters for steering the economy in the right direction?
Well, I think that's a really complicated question. We know that, and we do have inflation. The president has acknowledged that. We understand that. He is focused on that. But what people also report is that their own finances are fairly healthy, but they see the kind of uncertainty in the economy that is
retreat on Thursday. Sorry, I'm going to sneeze at some point. On Thursday, just wanted to not scare anyone. The president will welcome the. It's like hearing your voice on the answering machine. Go ahead.